play 7 in middle school.
Oh, yeah. And we do have a quorum. So,
Afternoon, ladies. They watching you, Terry. They watching you.
so I'll officially call this meeting of the Loganville Downtown Development Authority to order.
Can you use your microphone?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Thank you, I can't hear you back here.
Thank you for reminding me. So this called meeting of the Loganville Downtown Development Authority is hereby called to order. Our agenda is a call to order to talk about a potential FY 2026 budget request and to adjourn. Do we have any other items that anyone would like to add to the agenda?
Can we add your Facebook page and talk about it for a second? Can I do that?
Yes.
Can we add the downtown development Facebook page that Terry created today and how we will use it and how we might use it?
I actually made some whole packets of information here to talk about today.
Okay, all right,
It has to do with the budget and the Facebook, so.
okay. So we have a motion to add a DDA Facebook page item to our agenda. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second?
Second from Brax. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Let's also make note that, of the members who are here and the members who are not. So, what I've given you guys today is, as I mentioned at our last evening when we weren't able to have a meeting, is a straw man for a potential budget request. It is nothing more than a conversation starter and reaction producer, obviously. And it includes some potential funding for 3 projects we're working on. One is the Downtown Art Grant Program, one is the Downtown Lighting Grant Program, and then there's signage for parking after we complete the parking project, public parking project. And so with the training, travel, membership fees, and a business owner event and the morning mingle, this list comes to $45,200. What are your thoughts?
Well, I know the training's self-explanatory, travel, memberships, everything down to morning mingle. One thing that we discussed without a quorum was the downtown art program, to which we discussed a little bit that we felt like that was slightly heavy. Even asking Brandon about the cost of what he just had done, and his recommendation was even right about half. So definitely would bring that up. I do think $20,000 is a allowed amount that sticks out to me.
Okay. Point taken. Other comments, thoughts?
I have a lot, but I don't want to take over the whole meeting, but I'll pass these out, and anyone else who wants to talk can interrupt me, but I have a lot to say.
Thank you.
So, you want one, Skip?
Yes, please.
I have more if you guys want some, too. All right.
Just one note, Dana. Danny is currently doing the budget. It starts July 1 through June 30th. You need to have the number to him soon.
Hopefully by tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hopefully we'll have a number to him by tomorrow, depending on when
Good,
it's here
that's
tonight.
perfect.
Okay, about that though, from what I understood, the budget starts in June, but we have to turn it in today?
Yeah, there's a long process that the city goes through to put the budget together. They come up with the revenue projection, and they get requests from all departments. Danny probably meets with all department heads. They massage those numbers take things out, put things in until it balances, and then they bring it forward to the city council, probably in May?
At least by May.
Yeah,
Has to be approved and done
Okay.
June.
by July 1st.
All right, so this is a packet I went through after I watched last week's meeting and read all the chatter about it. So this first is 4 or 5 different towns that have had like a huge change in the town because they brought art to it. So when I originally read the comments, I was on board with the art would be a waste of time at this point until you actually go do the research and how much small towns are using art for it. So that was the one thing that I noted. But if art's going to bring people downtown, they need to have somewhere to go. So we do have some places to go now, though. We do have Toasted, we have Braxton's that's open. You're not open just for the auction anymore. We have some, and we have some stuff going. So we do have things. We got the arcade, we got tacos. I actually just did my walkthrough with the fire marshal for the cafe, and we have 2 open businesses for rent right across the street from the gym, I guess it would be, right next door to where that's going to go. So I don't think we're going to talk about the RFQ today, but I think we all know that that's probably not the route we're going to go. So I think that if we're going to be focusing on bringing business downtown, we need to focus on those 2 places, and the art could be a part of that. So, and then after that, I put just a little bit about how badly Facebook groups can affect our decision-making process, and we'll come back to that in a second. But I don't think we should make a decision not to do the art based on the Facebook, because that Facebook post that Joanne made, who is here, it had 19 complainers, 34 people who agreed with it by liking it, which is a total of 53 interactions, and 776 people voted in the last election. So that's 7% if all 53 of those people vote in city elections, and I know 2, one doesn't exist and one lives outside the city limits. So, and then registered voters in Loganville is 9,924, which that would be 0.5%. So I don't think we should make the decision on the art based on that Facebook post, especially because a positive post that went on about Brandon's art received a way better, yeah, it had like 200 or something. That being said, there are some people who don't like it, and that might be the case. We just can't go by those 53 people. We need to ask some more people or figure out a way to get in contact with other people. So that got me started on 2 things. First of all, at some point, the city council or the citizens are going to have to trust us to be stewards of some amount of money, whether it's a small amount, a big amount, whatever it is. At some point, they either have to trust us or they don't. If they don't trust us to do it, then I'm not really sure what we can do going forward without any money. And then 2, because funds are limited for whatever reason, we need more of a grassroots place to start, especially if we're not going to start with 254 Main. We might still start with 254 Main, but we have so much other stuff going on. The other thing is the ordinance on the murals, and Brandon's not here, but Melanie is. Can we even put more murals downtown? Because what my hearing is we have no way.
3 at the time we wrote the ordinance.
Uh-huh.
3, any ordinance can be changed at any time for any reason. So if that is something that you have somebody, I would imagine, that wanted to put up a mural, you could probably come before council and say, hey, here's their plan, this is what we want to do, but can we get one, or one of the other 2 would have to go away.
And that was what I was gonna ask too, because I might do one day because out of that corner. Change the ordinance, that'd be the first step, and then proposing plans, who would that go to, like, the official, like, with that planning and zone, like, who would I say, okay, y'all would vote, like, let's change the ordinance, but who am I going to, or who are these people going to actually finalize the process, or they get a thumbs up and here, is that it?
I'm not sure I understand your
what's the next step for the people? Because am I coming in here, let's say I come in here, ask for ordinance change, here's my plans, y'all vote yes, am I done, or do I need to go see somebody
Go to
else?
Robbie first.
Yeah.
That's what I was saying,
Yeah,
Robbie.
Yeah, Robbie, and then we would come to council and say, hey, we have these folks that wanna do a mural, but hey, we're maxed out, we already have the 3.
Okay.
So, I don't know then if he would go to the other 2 and say, hey, are you gonna cover over your mural, we got somebody else, or, hey, are y'all okay with going forth with
Okay.
with a 4th mural or whatever?
Sounds good.
Okay, so that was my main question. We don't need to talk about it if we can't even do any more. But I feel like we could get volunteers, we could get like school art programs, community volunteers, we could get businesses to donate to it, or we could just have the businesses pay for them themselves, which is what Brandon did. And what other options we have besides just murals, because I think we could, again, use money, but nothing we are gonna be able to accomplish is gonna be done without money, so not having a budget isn't a possibility. So then I went and did research on DDA grants, and I spoke to a grant writer named Julie Starr, and she's actually a master class. She teaches a master class on grant writing and teaches people how to get like millions of dollars of grants. And she happens to be the grant writer for my son's private school, and she writes their grants. So I just talked to her about what we could do, and she gave me this list of different grants that she could apply for us on a regular basis. And this money could come to us and we could use to do what we wanted to do without inhibiting any taxpayer or, whatever, taking any tax dollars. And then the second part is we can start a nonprofit. She suggested that we start a nonprofit as a second part that answers to the DDA, which means businesses could make donations to a 501c3 and then they could fund everything. And so I put all the information about how we would do that. I don't know. I was hoping Paul was here so he could tell us if that was even a possibility, because she doesn't know that part of it, but that is also a way. And then I put the information about grant writing. She obviously charges $1,000 to $1,500 a month as a retainer, but she'll write grants every month, which would be a steady flow of money. So that is something I would like to talk about putting in the budget if we could, even if we just did it for a couple of months and see if it works out. If she can write grants, like my son's school got $20,000 in grants last month. So if she can write grants like that for us, they're a 501c3 though, and we're not. So I didn't get into she doesn't want to give me the secrets because I'm obviously not paying her, but I asked the questions. And then the last section, I put this post that I found on Facebook about Sparta, Georgia, where they did everything on a volunteer basis. So you see that they've added all this art, and they did it all themselves with volunteer money, volunteer supplies. The next page is where you see City of Monroe, who we often compared to. Tonight, unfortunately, I was going to go to it, but it's scheduled at the same time as this. They had a call for volunteers. And the next pages are just the application where they had a meeting with a list of all the things they need volunteers to do. And they had people come, and I know, I'm sure you guys have all attended City of Monroe events. I have, and they have tons of volunteers. So they're doing something to get people to come out and help. And then lastly, I have a copy of both of our DDA Facebooks that I started. So one was just for the DDA, the economic development, could be for advertising, open properties like the Two Sisters properties that we talked about, or anything economic development wise. And then the other one is just for downtown Loganville, which is just any events we have, same thing, which is, this is the exact setup Monroe is using. They have an economic and they have a downtown. So I kind of copied their thing. I know Jamie's not here, but the other big thing is our website. It's been 5 months.
Yeah.
So is it gonna go live? Like, we need that in order to put the applications out to volunteer and stuff like that. And then I believe going forward, because that Facebook post and that Facebook group as a whole drives everything, that this last one talks about basically the negativity, and I believe we should push everyone who wants to have a voice on what we're doing for the DDA to come to our own Facebook pages. And if there is a city council member who would like to say something to us and she can't get us by email, or she can't get us any other way, that going to a Facebook group and complaining or talking bad is not where we will take any hints from, because I think we all left that thinking nobody wants art, and thankfully another citizen spoke up and showed that a lot of people do, which pushed me to go and do this research. So I think the other focus should be pushing everyone that if they want to have a voice, that particular group or any other Loganville group is not where we're going to go to get their opinions. They need to come to the DDA and have access to us directly, and we're always available, and we will listen, because we listened there, but at this point, where we're getting our information from is way too toxic and way too negative. And we can't make any decisions. It's going to freeze us to doing nothing.
It's good work, Tara.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, can I
Yes,
follow up with her just a
you
second?
certainly can.
Couple of things that Tara mentioned that I'd like to follow up with. Number one is the city of Monroe. When I just recently took the DDA Downtown Main Street class, and the city of Monroe has used the example on how they funded some of the business things downtown. And several businesses, they gave low-interest loans, got Department of Community Affairs loans, actually bought property and held it until the business could get in there and do it, and then got several businesses to relocate. So I looked into their DDA and their Main Street designation, which they have a Main Street designation for Georgia Main Streets that is controlled by the DDA. Their DDA budget is around $60,000 this year. Their Main Street budget is about $260,000 this year. Now, a lot of that comes from revenue that they generate by rentals of buildings, by having special events, which the city does, but the city hasn't separated into the city. So they put all that money back in, and that's why they've been able to. And yes, they do have a lot of volunteers, but to do a mural, even if you have volunteers do it, you're still gonna spend $1,000, $2,000 worth of materials possibly. So I agree with Tara. I think we should have something in here. I'd like to see it renamed, instead of art grant, an art/streetscape grant, so that we could do both. And
We're just a
our budget, right now, we're operating on what was left from the DDA, is that correct?
LDA.
I mean, the LDA?
Yes.
Which was funded 3 years ago,
Oh, it's been longer than that.
so 4 years ago. So we've been operating on a budget that was funded 4 years ago, which I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I was on the LDA for about a year, but was $35,000 originally?
Right,
And out of that, we still have how much left?
24.
$24,000 over 4 years.
Yeah, I
So I
think we-
can't say that we spent a lot
I
of
believe it
money.
was 40 to start out with.
Was it 40?
It was
Well,
like,
even
it was
that.
probably like 2018, wasn't that when the
It's
LDA
been
was?
quite a while.
Yeah.
So we have not spent a lot of money. Yes, we spent some on banners and trash cans and a few other things, but we tried to make sure that we got the best price available. And I'm with Tara. I hope the Facebook page saw some of this. I'm open for anybody to come suggesting, but, you know, the negativity I've seen over the meeting that we didn't even have last month, and this document right here, which was just a starting place for our discussions last night, people took this and ran that this is what we were asking for, and it's not. It's just a place to start. So I'm glad we're having the discussion tonight, and I appreciate your research, Tara. Thank you.
Thank you.
Other comments, questions?
I was just gonna say, I like what Tara did, and like I said, I really didn't read much. I read one post, and I like what we're doing, because again, not only are we looking at money and grants, but like, now we have the Facebook page. We're purposely working with these business owners to bring people to downtown, which again, I think one person's like, that's your only, like, I think someone commented like, that's your only job, bring businesses downtown. Okay, that is, we're working on that. We're doing that part. We also are trying to beautify downtown Loganville in the same process. So we're trying to do a lot of stuff with no money, which is good, and we're gonna do as much as we can with no money, but eventually it takes a little bit. But again, I know Melanie just told me both the sisters' place are rented, which is a good thing.
They already are?
Yep, they both rented, but I have my two now that we can find somebody else.
Because I was
Yeah. Yep,
They're not to churches though, right?
no.
Okay.
What-
Well, Melanie has been working. She had gotten them to agree to I had all the notes, that was my next thing. And she got them to agree to do 3-year leases, which they had been very stubborn about. They agreed to come before us and talk to us about what we wanted. Like, the sisters were really on board, so.
Thank you, Melanie.
And I don't wanna share their business, I'll come tell y'all when the camera.
Yeah.
What the business are, because in case something falls through.
Right.
Of course.
But for the future, or even for now, actually, I don't know if we could do it for Braxton because he's on the board. If we had funds, Melanie and I had a discussion about the fact that we could, like, say, hey, we'll pay the first month's rent there for $2,300 if you'll come and get it ready, like, give people time, because that's what I didn't have on Main Street. My landlord said, the day you move in, write me a check, and I'm not doing anything. And that can stop a lot of business owners, but if they can get in there and start making money immediately, if we can get funds for that kind of stuff, then we can work on getting businesses here, so.
Sounds like another grant program.
Exactly.
And that's what me and Melanie, that's what I was really talking to her about,
That's a
because
great idea.
I think a lot of businesses, only because I've now had it happen to me twice, they're like, hey, I just need to start, something to help me start. And there's grants for, we said, outside, possibly inside renovations, all sorts of stuff. Even like, I mean, I agree with her. I think I would have had both my places rented out if they would say, hey, I just need the first month's rent to get my feet wet. Again, so I think there's a lot of grants we can look into to help those businesses. And again, that's us doing our jobs.
Well, what I was thinking is we could have our own grant program.
We can too,
Right,
yes,
so
absolutely.
they'll get grants from us,
From
but
us,
we'll
yeah.
be able to get
Right.
federal, state, all the other
Right,
grants.
right.
But also, if we do a 501c3, my business can make a donation to your grant program, and I get the tax write-off, which every business owner is looking for a tax write-off right now. And we have that money that we can also put out in certain grants too, as long as we're obviously not making a profit on them, which we wouldn't. That's why we would need a separate from the DDA. And I did look into it. The only 2 cities I could find in the state of Georgia have a separate 501c3 to go with their DDA, but one of them is City of Atlanta, so it's not like some small town. Yeah,
Is the Main Street designation program taxed to it?
I have no idea.
I'll have to call them. Sorry.
Oh, no, I just, basically, me and ChatGPT worked on this all week, so I only asked what questions I knew to ask.
It's good stuff, though.
So that being said, I don't know about what the dollar amount should be. I think we should still have the conversation about that because we obviously have to turn it in by tomorrow. But I don't think it should be stripped back and hold us back for another year because obviously we're not going to get anything done if we don't push for something. And the worst that can happen is the city council tell us no, right?
Yeah.
Well, what, have you done any research on what figure you think it should be? If it's not gonna be 20 and it's not gonna be all the way down to 10, is there any, like, research that you've done to show what cost what and what we would need? Cause it's, we know what we want, but it's, if we don't know anywhere near what it's gonna cost, it's kinda hard to budget for it if we don't know the cost.
Yeah, I think that we should not specifically put art, lighting, or parking, that we should just have an amount that we want to use for Main Street revitalization, and we vote on it as a group as we spend
Make it a
it.
broader category.
Right, so this is just for Main Street revitalization, and so we find a project we want to do and it is $1,000, then we come here and we talk about, let's spend $1,000 of that revitalization money on
Same thing we do with the trash cans, right? And all the
basically
different
the
stuff.
same way, but put the money in there so we can use it, so we're not later in the year when we need the money, we're not saying, well, we have to wait till next year and ask for the money. And if we don't use it, we roll it over.
That was my question. We don't have to use the, but, so if the city gives us $40,000 and we say we're gonna use it for this, as long as we're not using it for that, we can roll it over and just save it.
Oh, yeah.
So just because we're asking for $40,000 doesn't mean
mean we
we're
have to
gonna waste
spend it.
$40,000 next year. We're gonna do, I agree, maybe one bigger category, because again, we might end up doing more lighting than murals, or we might do more stuff with the sidewalks than lighting. I mean, we don't know exactly.
Those startup grants.
Yeah,
And I just don't think we have enough time to figure out exactly what we can or want to do, and we're just rushing it. We're not rushing it. I think people think we were rushing it because we put this budget out, when really we were just trying to get an amount of money to work with. And I think if we make it a broader amount and then use the money wisely, then we could, we might find out that all the businesses will do their own lighting, or, you know what I mean? So we don't need any money for lighting. Or we might find out, like we said, murals, we can't put anymore. They keep denying them. So we don't want that money stuck for that. I just think any broad revitalizing downtown amount, and I don't know, like I said, 45 might be too high. I'm not saying it's high or low, but I don't think it's a number that anybody should balk at if we're spending $450,000 on rezoning. Like, 45 seems a minuscule amount of taxpayer money.
I'm with Tara on the last three items. I've just budgeted them together and call it downtown improvement, streetscape, or whatever, and then come up with a figure there so that we can use it, like she said, in different projects.
Yeah, and would this include grant writer?
I have questions about grant writing. Number one, does the city have grant writers?
No.
The city does.
Robbie does some writing for some grants. And I'm sure we've got other people that do too, but not an official grant writer, no.
Okay, well, I mean, yeah, we could use that money for grant writing, because we would be writing grants to get lighting, to get other different things, to get streetscape improvements. Part of the lighting thing we had talked about was not only just lights on the buildings, but the nice lights coming down through here. Right now, we just have light poles, but the city of Covington or Oxford, Monroe, they all have decorative poles up, and they've worked with their electric providers to do that. There is a cost, but there's a way that we can work it out and not bear the full cost of that. That was one of the things I was looking into, and unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to get anybody to contact me yet. I've talked with Danny about it, but DOT has been a problem in the past on that.
Yeah.
And it's what we're trying to work through now. So don't have any figures of what it cost. Heck, I'd love to see our power provider come in and do it on their own. And they may have community funds. It's just something we've got to find out.
I think it'd be, so whatever our budget is, whatever number we do, I just did quick math with Tara real quick. If we did 6 months, or ask her grant writer, hey, can we try 6 months of grant writing at $1,500 a month, just say it's that number, it's $9,000. Let's say she ends up getting us, $50,000 in grants. To me, that's a good steward of our money, and if any citizen had a problem with that, I'd be like, hey, we later turn $9,000 into $50,000 of grants for the people. Honestly, I think it'd gain a lot of trust if we could get that. And even if you get $20,000 in grants, you're still positive making money. And again, I think for us starting a DDA or revitalizing one and saying, hey, we're not just wasting money, we're actually trying to make more money to give to our city to do, I think it'd be definitely worth talking to at 6 months at $1,500 and see what she can write. Because, I mean, if she got $20,000 for a school, she probably can make something happen. And again, who knows what we can get, especially because we've never asked for stuff before, I don't feel like. as
And if we
grants.
meet with her about the 501c3 portion of it, we might open up to a whole lot more. Because it's also, she was telling me a little bit about, it's like based on residents. So most of the grants are like if you have under this amount or you have over this amount. So we're gonna be considered a small town still, I think, which would open us up to bigger nonprofit grants.
Has she done work for governments or DDAs?
She's just gotten into government. She has not done DDAs, but I guess with all the current grant funding that's being slashed right now, she's actually had a huge uptick in grant writing. So she's actually really super busy. That's why I couldn't get her here tonight. So she is very familiar with it, but for the price of $1,500 a month is extremely super reasonable for that. So.
I would caution y'all on one thing. Grant writing is wonderful. There's a lot of money out there. There really is. But when you say do it for 6 months, many times you write a grant, you ask for a grant, you may not see anything for a year. or two. Some of these things take quite a bit of time, so I wouldn't want you to judge how effective the program is when it probably takes longer. Just be aware.
Yeah, we probably need her to come and talk to us and explain set our expectations of what we would want. Because if we think we're gonna like have $50,000 by midsummer to just spend on lights and ferries or whatever, we might be disappointed, but there may be something she knows she can get money moving fast.
And we don't
I don't
have,
know.
I guess we don't have to have that number today. We don't have to agree on that. It's more just getting a number for the cities to
Overall.
say,
Well, and again, if we clump these three together in the last, that grant writing could come out of that.
it can, exactly, it could. And
I
again,
mean,
that'd
you've
be a
got
different
grant
discussion
writing
for
in
another
there.
day, yeah.
You're also gonna have to wait and see what happens when you turn your request in.
Yeah.
The whittling knife usually comes out,
Yeah.
so.
My understanding
just-
is that the revenue digest is not as increased as much as it has in the past, so it won't be as,
I'm sure the new construction is not.
yeah.
And then my question for the number, I think this ties to all of us. Do you, again, I feel like I'm bidding or whatever, do you start high and the city comes back with us with a number? Or should we just say, hey, we want this or nothing? How does it, like, what are we gonna, like, if we ask for 45, 200?
They can always revise the number.
So
give us
are we
less,
better
or-
off asking that, knowing they're gonna revise, or kind of finding a middle ground?
I would say not knowing, I would say not knowing it's gonna be revised, but suspecting it very likely will be.
Okay.
I mean, we don't know till you try.
So you had a conversation with Danny about the budget. Is this dollar amount one he suggested?
No, I shared this with him. And he told me, you know, it's gonna be a tough year with revenues. There are a lot of needs in, I guess, in the fire department. He didn't discourage us from putting it in, but just wanted us to be realistic about its chances. And I think that, you know, budgeting is all about priorities. And, you know, if we make a good case and the city council thinks that this kind of work needs to be done, then they are more likely to fund it. I mean, in terms of a percentage of the entire city budget, it's a drop in the bucket. So maybe,
Do we need to discuss budgeting anything for 254 May?
no, that would be, the way that was laid out is that we would, after selecting a planning consultant, request that money from the city to enter into that contract. That'd be a
It'd be
non-budget,
different.
budget development item, yeah.
Okay.
That would be from this year's budget.
If I did,
One thing I was thinking of as you guys were talking, this is great, but keep in mind, we do have an art society, so they can help a lot.
Yes,
I
sir.
believe they're 501c. I don't know that
Yeah.
it would affect this particular one. And I don't know, being a government entity, I don't know if you need to be a 501c, but we'd have to get an answer. I just don't know.
Well, we did check, and we know that donations to a DDA are not,
Okay.
they can do it, they are not tax deductible.
That's
Okay.
right.
So that we did check out as the LDA.
Then you gotta find out if a DDA is qualified to be a 501c also, I guess. But when you get a 501c, you got some extra cost
Yes.
that comes along with it.
Right.
That was why I was asking if we got a Main Street designation. Was the Main Street designation tax deductible? And that's something we'd have to check with Department of Community Affairs.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think that, you know, we certainly, as much as possible, need to get a budget request put together tonight. And maybe we can have something on the regular meeting agenda with Paul and perhaps the grant writer to go further into some of these ideas. March 20th.
Okay, yes, I will ask her to come on March 20th. But Braxton, I have a question. So when the city council gets this and decides on the budget, like if we have one line that's 40K and they don't like it, are they gonna take the whole 40K away, or are they gonna say, no, but we'll give you 10 for that?
Danny that usually does all of that. Normally, the council will vote on a budget, period, for the whole city. Now, if we get to a point where more money is requested than is available, we may go line item to line item, but normally, that's not the case. Danny's already done that, usually. And we have a lot of requests that are turned down by the departments.
I think, yeah, so like, it would be better saying, hey, here's our one number we need, or like, right now, individualizing a lot more,
I-
and then that way they can just say no to that.
I think you're better off giving them some justification for the money you're asking.
Right. It doesn't have to be a line item request, but you can have a lump sum request and say, here's what we'd like to do with it.
Well, something similar
So
to what
the
you
city
got there.
council just decides on the whole city and then Danny is gonna divvy it out between us?
No,
all?
Dan-
Well,
no,
he,
if you'll look
he
at
usually
the-
divvies it out before he gets the budget together.
Yeah.
You have to have a balanced budget by law, and that's what he tries to do. And sometimes if you don't have enough revenue, if you've got more requested expenses than.
Okay,
than
so
re-
Danny puts the budget together with how much he
With the
thinks we
department
should have,
managers.
and then it goes to city council and they, yes or no?
Right.
Yes.
So we'd be better
His
saying,
proposed budget is online right now, on the city for the upcoming year with what he's got together so far. And what he does, and what Georgia does, is you anticipate the revenues coming in that you have, and that's what you have to spend. And like he said, their budget has to be a zero budget by law.
Well, I think that it is great that you sat down with Danny, but I think it would be beneficial if we all got to talk to Danny instead of just one of us, so we understood, and so he understood. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we should all be able to have this conversation with him, so we all understand what's going on, I think, a little bit, and complete our case.
so I
So I
think,
might be better at arguing with Danny than you.
and what we were just talking about too, and I think what Mr. Mayor is getting at, kind of have all of our things, get rid of these side numbers and say, hey, with the $45,200, we're trying to do these things and maybe add grant writing possibly in there. And say, hey, here's the things we want, here's our total number we think we need for it. We don't have to propose these each individual lines. And then he could say, okay, here's what I think I'd give you for those. That way we get rid of these numbers and say, hey, we're trying to use the $45,000 for X, and then no numbers attached to that except the overall number.
Yeah.
Then we have better odds.
And
Ben-
if we can explain to them that we are keeping it as low as possible, so we can try to find other ways to find funding.
Right.
And start a volunteer program, because there are a lot of people. I think at this point, we either have to have a call for volunteers, where all these people who have such strong opinions to come out and help. And if that doesn't work, then we have the justification to come back and say, we tried every other way, no one helped, we need tax dollars if you want anything. And then what can they say after we've already asked them to
Offered,
come?
yeah.
But we have to give them the opportunity to come and try these other methods, which might be lucrative, and we might have thousands of volunteers. I mean, look how packed these meetings are.
Just be aware, another thing that may happen, and I've done many budgets over the years, he may say, well, how much money do you have now? But I wouldn't want it to be arranged so that you'd be totally out of money at any particular time, but just keep in mind that may be something that's asked.
I've texted him, see if we can meet with him early next week. Everybody be available for that?
Yep,
I am.
next week, yes, sir.
Doesn't have to be an open meeting.
Yes.
So then our next regular scheduled meeting.
Called meeting in Danny's office.
We can do a called meeting here, right?
If we can get it, yeah.
Like
Well, I mean, we've
as
got
long as
another
we
meeting
give
in 2
them
weeks.
24 hours.
Right.
And we're not voting on anything, we're just talking to them, right?
Right.
So it doesn't have to be a quorum.
If you have a quorum, I'll talk to Paul.
I don't know the rules, so.
Should we,
What Georgia open meetings like, if we all get together to discuss business, then it comes under the Open Meetings Act. And I have to give notice, and you have to do that.
My own
If we're going to
interpretation.
training or different things like that, or like the morning mingle, and we're not discussing business, then we don't have to.
Hey, we
That's right.
put out a notice for the morning mingle.
Yeah, we did, but
We
we
did.
didn't do any business.
No.
should we still go on and try to, or are we saying we'll vote on that number? We gotta propose something to the city right by tomorrow.
Well, I think it'd be good to get it in tomorrow and then talk to them
Yeah,
about it.
but we can talk to Danny about why we want it
Right.
later.
Yes, I agree. I think we're all saying, yeah.
So if we put it in, then I guess what Michael's saying is we could just talk to him at the next meeting, unless you would just rather talk to him now.
Well, if it all gets in the budget, you don't need to talk.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should do it as soon as possible.
Okay.
I don't know what his decision-making process is from here on out. He may be trying to finalize things next week. I wouldn't think so, but I'll talk to him about it, too.
Okay. So basically, given all that, we need to decide a number that we're gonna ask for.
I like the 45.
I don't think it hurts to ask it. I mean, again, we're not like, what we've all discussed, we're not gonna waste any of this. It could sit there and we're gonna make sure it's done right, because, I mean, we've already done this twice. I mean, with the trash cans and gone back and the banners and gone back, like, we've been very good stewards, I think, of the money we've been given, and we haven't been wasting anything, because we still have 20-some thousand dollars in that budget.
Well, didn't we say something about just regrouping the category, not scanning it and say, hey, we need this much for that? So,
Exactly. We're saying
yeah.
we're gonna get rid of the side numbers and say, hey, here's the overall shot, add the grant writing on there, just in case we wanna do that, and then say, hey, we're asking X number.
Here's what I've been taking notes of, and what we might want to consider is the whole number, and then listing what we're going to do with this is training, travel, memberships, annual downtown business owner event, morning mingle, Main Street revitalization, downtown startup grant program, and a grant writer.
That sounds,
Sounds great. I mean, like I said, most likely, I'd say our odds are he's gonna come back and counteroffer in a way, but again, if we're getting something, it's a start. And again, we could get it all, that'd be awesome. But I don't feel like we're asking, well, I think we all agree, I don't think we're asking for an astronomical amount of money.
Compared to what other departments are asking for this year for craziness, then I think we're on low end. But this also gives us the rest of the year to find out how much self-funding we can do through grants, through
Exactly.
businesses who want to get involved and things like that. And then we might not need as much taxpayer
well,
money.
it's not like we're asking for money for something for us, and it's everything, we're just trying to better the
No,
community.
and we're
really
held
like
very
we're-
accountable, because we'll have to talk about every dime we spend here, so it's not like we won't be held accountable for what we're spending the money for. But I also think that, I don't think we should add a dollar amount, but I think we do need to add, we are gonna have to do something about getting the website going. If we have to leave the city, if they're the holdup, then we need to tell them we're gonna go get our own, we don't need their help. And that's a little bit of what, I know they told you not about the employee, that we could use Christie, but if Christie has so much going on, like, I think we are gonna have to go back to looking for volunteers on things like that.
Well, I mean, Kyle in the city made it sound like it was real easy, and I'm not sure why it hasn't happened yet. I think it's just a matter of Jamie getting with him. I know that he's spoken to him at least once,
Do
maybe
we
a
want to just
number
add
of
that
times.
to next month's agenda? Like,
Yeah,
that just needs
oh
to be
yeah, I
on-
think we go back to our last regular meeting agenda, because we've got to approve 2 sets of minutes. We need a treasurer's report. We need updates on the website, other things that we've gotten started on. We may even take a look at, the work plan, touch base on that. And then if we can, have a grant writer here.
Yeah, I'll make sure she can come. But if Jamie could get the website going
I'll contact him tomorrow.
quicker, that would be,
I was
well,
hoping
it
you-
has been 5 or 6 months, so.
Yeah, yeah.
We're gonna need a place to make all this stuff happen, grant writing, they're gonna wanna see our website and what we're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean, they're gonna go behind and check, everyone's gonna go behind us and check what we're into, and we've got no footprint anywhere other than concerned citizens, and I don't think that's gonna get us any grants.
Well, then, can I then motion to adopt the new budget according to how you said it right there, in a way, get rid of the individualized art, lighting, and parking, and then make it an overall downtown revitalization,
Right.
and still ask for the $45,200. That'd be my motion.
Okay, and that's the only number that would be,
Unless he wants us to, again, I think that's how I would do it. And if he has questions, again, we're gonna see Danny, and then we can go through every part of that.
But with no addition for the grant.
Oh, yeah, well, and the grant,
all right,
my
let
bad.
me read those out
Yep.
again. This would be, I think, I understand the motion to
Yes.
mean $45,000 for training, travel, memberships, annual downtown business owner event, morning mingle, Main Street Revitalization, Downtown Startup Grant Program, Business Grant Program, and a grant writer.
And then is that 45,200? Not that, I just wanted to say it right. Okay,
45 is fine.
you're good. 45 is fine.
I believe it would also help you when you talk with city manager, if you've got some ideas of maybe some grants that you might want to go for, just to know that you've done some research.
Yeah.
I don't know what all's out there just tonight anyway, but it's a lot out there.
We have a packet for them.
All right.
There's a lot of.
Okay, we have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? We'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I believe that was unanimous. All right, very good. Thank you all.
Thank you. This is great.
No problem.
Okay, we had an item to the agenda to talk about the DDA Facebook pages.
She did, she
She's
threw
already
that
talked
in
Did we
there.
cover that?
Yes, sir.
Well, I think
Anything
just the
else?
pushing people, that's where we need to get we need to let people know that if they need to talk to us or they want us to hear their opinion, that this is where it is. If they don't want to talk to us in person, come to a meeting, email us. This is the Facebook place
Right.
to go to talk to the DDA.
And I understand you have requested all of us to become managers or
Oh, yeah,
administrators.
everyone except for, I could not find Ironetta, and I could not find Jamie, the other Jamie.
You have to be on
All-
Facebook to
Yes.
do that?
So y'all are all admins, which will give you the ability to post. It gives you the ability to comment back to people, respond. If we ever want to spend money advertising, it will give you the ability to advertise. We'll have to set that account up. Like, it gives you the full, if you have a business page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I was talking to y'all a little bit beforehand, I think the biggest one, like, let's say we find, now the sisters are done, but like, we're looking for bakery, coffee shop, whatever it is. I kind of text all of us first, just before I post it, be like, hey, here's what I'm about to post in here, I think it'll be smart just to kind of proof it before one of us just fires away and posts on it. But also, I'm gonna ask, whenever we post on here with any buildings in feature, I'm gonna ask Christie to share them on the City of Loganville page. Because I think these will gain traction if they share these, which they should have no
Yeah.
problem sharing those.
Repost it on their own page.
Yeah, I think all the Loganville Facebook groups will probably get on
I
board.
will, but I'm just-
Because it takes the conversation out off of their backs.
Well, exactly, I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
especially the ones when the buildings for rent, the City of Monroe always shares. The reason I don't follow the City of Monroe Economic Development page, I follow City of Monroe, they share that page when they post something for rent, and then, because they have 20,000 followers compared to our one follower.
Yeah.
And then people
no.
will start to follow that page until we get traction solely on that page.
Yeah, but we also have to, like, take pictures of your spaces, so we can do that, but we have to keep an eye on what's available in the Main
Absolutely.
Street overlay.
Well, and hopefully those, as this grows, they will come to us and say, hey, I'm about to put a for rent sign out, but I'd like you to post it. It doesn't cost anything. I mean, to me, we're giving any of the owners downtown Main Street a extra benefit.
Yeah, I'm just saying because, like, I'm on Main Street across from those two that were for rent every day for 6 hours a day, and until Melanie told me there were two buildings for rent, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I was just like, what are you talking about? So I have to, I think we all have to pay better attention to what's available so we can push to get good places in
Well,
there and we don't
and-
end up with more.
Well, and as we get closer and closer, it goes back to, I think, our first meeting topic about getting all the business owners or building owners together one day.
Right.
We pushed it off for a year or two, but as we continue this, we're getting closer and closer to saying, hey, let's all come together, have a meeting to discuss all these options that we're gonna start giving these people. And I think those people will show up, especially if you have food and something else, and we can have a dinner meeting about all this stuff, so
And I
we're getting
think
closer to
when
that point.
Melanie spoke to the sisters, she also got them to agree to give her a heads up before they rented to another church. And so the ones who are currently rented to churches, if we could get that same agreement with them, if those churches move out, that would really be helpful too. Because we still have 4 churches,
I
even
believe
with the
some of
one
those are
moved
owned
out.
by the churches.
Are they?
If you look at the tax records, it
The
looks
one
like,
across, I know the one across from my store, they own it.
yeah, they own
The old
it.
post office.
And the one near your stores is owned by LLC under a church now.
Mhm. The sisters own the two next to me.
And
They're
the one on
churches.
the end, but that's it.
Oh, well, Let's just agree if they move out that they won't rent to another church at least.
Okay, any other discussion? Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn, it doesn't require a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned.